the first question we're going to go to, and it's from Magpie. Can you talk about your match with Booker T in England from Insurrextion 2002? I feel that match turned around your WWE career. You seem to be on a downward spiral before that, which I sort of guess you were, because you were gone from TV for quite a few months, weren't you?
Yeah, this is definitely from the Right to Censor being disbanded, trying to lose the weight, going to developmental. We talked about that story about going to HWA with Les Thatcher in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then meeting with JR before that we're sending you to developmental, lose some weight, get into shape, get up to par with your work, because my work was suffering because of the weight. And we still might release you, but go down there and just kind of do your best. And I took that advice to heart, lost as much weight as I could. Then the chronological timeline from there was the first time people saw me outside of house shows maybe was myself and Just Incredible versus Big Show on a live heat before a pay-per-view. Incredible responsibility to be on a live heat before a pay-per-view. So that was a good pressure spot to test me. And of course, we had fun with that match. Then the next live heat, I believe, was Raven and myself, or as JBL says, a handicap match, myself versus the Hardys. That was the next live heat, which we killed off King of the Ring, much like Clash of the Champions. I'll stick to that urban legend. Raven and myself will kill any event you ask us to. Just book us. Book us as a tag team. Hey, you're a tag team. So with those two things, I think they were just, we can do something with them. Then you weren't aware that they put me as a valet for Jazz. So this was the precursor to the formula or the format of Victoria and myself, was Jazz and myself. And Jazz had ended up getting injured. But before that, we were on a nice little run of getting heat on baby faces. Then, of course, winning the hardcore title right before Insurrextion from Bubba Ray Dudley. He had a family thing he had to take care of. So they put the belt on me, and I was flown over to do Insurrextion against Booker T.
So I guess we should say how, or I should ask, how was Booker T how many times did you wrestle him? Was it just this time, or many times?
I wrestled him on Insurrextion. I also wrestled him, this was afterwards because my hair started to grow back. We wrestled once, if not twice, on Velocity. Had a great time. He had Sharmella with him. We had a lot of fun with those matches, and they were up there with intent. Booker's an intense dude. By the way, this was a test, which I said it during the watch along. In the very beginning, he started to eat me up, or I kind of froze up a little bit, but it looked just like a babyface shining on a heel. So you couldn't tell, but during that moment, I was like, ooh, and then you start to see me fight back and warm up. And I made the joke, I'm like Greg Valentine, I needed 15 to 20 minutes just to warm up. But, the match, I warmed up really quick. We had great chemistry for, at the time, never working together. And it was a really good physical match. Booker's there with everything, snug in safe places. And like when you saw the Stevie kick at the end, Booker takes it as good as he gives it too. He didn't shy away from it, ran right into it. And it was the perfect formula for a hardcore match. We actually had a WWE style pacing for a wrestling match. We introduced weapons, but you even said, James, man, you guys are selling what you're doing, you're paced, everything kind of means something. And then the post-match, Booker went over, but then everybody started running in and there was title changes. And then at the end, I put him through the table eventually, because the first time the table didn't break, I am the table. And then the table broke, 1, 2, 3. And dude, at that match, you're right, it put me back on the radar in a good way. It put me back on the map. And I remember when I got on the plane, Michael Hayes approached me and said, your stock just rose with the company. Good things are going to happen to you. We have our eye on you. And then the plane took off.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
That's a good teaser, isn't it?
We will get to that. The one thing I didn't ask you on the Patreon, and once again, I highly recommend if you want to see the watch along, and Stevie goes really in depth, and I ask a bunch of questions, whether that's good or bad, it's whatever you make it to be. Because immediately I saw you getting beat down in the corner from Booker, And I was like, damn, he's really laying it in. He's like, yes, he was. Does that sort of set a level of, okay, so he's hitting me this hard, so therefore that's an implicit agreement that I can therefore hit him that hard back? Is that just an unwritten rule of like the level of how hard you hit each other is sort of set out in the first minute?
Well, yeah, but we hit each other hard in safe places with no malice at all. Now, just like Austin stomps people in the corner, stomps a mud hole, right? And sometimes his boot will graze their face or catch them in the lip or whatever. And I got my mouth busted open, but nothing in like where I saw stars. It was just like, ooh, you know what I mean? You almost laugh at those kinds of things. And yeah, we had weapons, and obviously you're going to hit each other over the head with a trash can. That's got to be there. You hit each other hard in the back with a cookie sheet or a broomstick. You take big bumps. He put the garbage can over my head and drop kicked it. He had to lay that in because how am I supposed to know when the drop kick hits me, you know? And I would have bumped too early. So this is one of those things of Booker's style is very believable, but it's not anything where when I got on the plane, I needed 15 ice packs in order to heal from it, or I woke up the next day and went, oh, I woke up the next day and I was like, my lip's a little busted, a little swollen, but nothing. We laughed about it. And of course, I tagged him with the kick because he was running right into the kick at the end. So, and he got scraped up on the table when he went through it. So this is one of those things where you actually somehow strangely bond via violence. And that's what happened with Booker and myself after that.
Now, it's always an unfair question.
But he did call me this guy over and over again, and that's what a joke is that. Yeah, this guy.
Good worker. Here's the thing. There's two questions, actually. One, how good was he as a worker? Because you've wrestled a million people. I'm sure you can come up with a ranking for him. But two, he was pretty much just got off working with Steve Austin as well. So, I mean, his stock, once again, was also pretty damn high in the company. So, in trusting you, I know you replaced Bubba kind of last minute kind of thing, but and you were going 50-50 throughout the match as well. So once again, that's a bit of trust in the company toward you, where 2 months later you're losing handicap matches to Big Show.
Yeah, it is pretty bad. I'm bad. It's bad for him to wrestle me after Austin. It's a pretty big deal. It's a huge deal. As far as the worker Booker T was, and probably still is if you step back in the ring, amazing. Now, you have to think about Booker, okay? WCW, let's go back to WCW. Bash at the Beach 2000. I mean, everybody knows the event, but I think this gets glossed over way too much because of the Hogan stuff, the Russo stuff. In a booking committee where everybody has their political favorites, where everybody is advocating for their favor, where people are basically politicking to the person on the committee, put me over, get me a push, get me a title. In this way, this is how it speaks to how much Booker deserved the world title. A unanimous vote amongst a committee that could never agree on anything that Booker should be the champion. That shows what kind of worker Booker T is.
For people who don't remember, in the dark days of WCW, Booker was like 4-time WCW champion in the space of a few months. And let me tell you, they booked him terribly. How can you be a 4-time champion and be booked that bad? Should have seen the match with Goldberg, man. Wow, he got... But nobody remembers it. He did such a good job of just saying, 5-time WCW champion. No one remembers that he was booked really badly for most of it. But if you go back, it's like, how could they have treated Booker like this kind of thing? But, once again, he, completely rose above it, and his stock just raised and raised and raised because he knew how to promote himself.
Also,
WWF and WWE.
Another point on that is we talked in the WCW episode about guys who sat out with the Time Warner contracts and guys that went straight to WWF at the time. Maybe what you just explained is the reason that Booker said, they booked me terribly. I can't get used much worse than I've been used. I deserve better. If I go here, I can get an opportunity. And man, to have not only an angle with Austin, but have one of the most memorable out of the ring, out of the arena moments that they still play 20 years later, 20 plus years later. That's amazing. I mean, amazing is the word to put with Booker T as far as a character, a wrestler, a worker, an athlete, a promo, royalty. You understand royalty, King Booker. He has had so many pivots and layers to his character that really do get overlooked in a lot of ways. Maybe it's good for them booking him so terribly, but people tend to forget all the really great stuff Booker did.
Next question, Always Sunny Everywhere. Stevie, what match were you most nervous about going into?
That's a lot of matches. It's actually, by process of elimination, it would be which matches I wasn't nervous going into.
Have you ever thrown up before a match due to nerves?
No. I do the standard before every match. I don't know why. I got comfortable with it and I actually turned it into a joke. And actually, that forced me to be a better worker. I'm going to tell you in a second, because I didn't call as much stuff and I worked out there. For some reason, anytime I stood, whether it's on the Indies, ECW, WCW, WWE, TNA, ROH, whatever it might be, right before my music hits, I forget everything. Except the finish. I know the finish, who's going over. My music hits, and there's that 5-10 seconds of where you're terrified because you forget everything. The minute I touch the curtain and open it up, it all comes back. The most nervous I think I was would be that Booker T match, because it was really make it or break it. I had a good amount of momentum. I was really not favored by the office. They started to give me little opportunities, but here, within a few days' time, I was thrown into the fire. They gave me the hardcore title, and then I had defending against Booker T, a former world champion who Booker had a motor, and I was in great shape, but I'd never been tested in that length of match, that pace, with that physicality, and I was very, very nervous about that. And that first 2 minutes, I could see and feel the nervousness I had, but I hit it pretty well. And then after that, I was good to go. I was probably nervous my first match in TNA, after all the weeks of vignettes, to finally work Abyss. But I was only nervous like towards the beginning, like what's this going to look like? And by the way, I had the lung disease. I was on prednisone, so I was like, am I going to last? I was nervous before taking the tax, because I never took that before, choke slamming the tax. I was very, very nervous before my match with Jay Lethal in ROH, the Proving Grounds match, because I was literally trying to prove myself to start getting booked. And that was about it. I mean, every time in ECW, you know you're going to do 40, 45 minutes, and it's going to be ultra violence. You get nervous, but I was actually not smart enough to be nervous enough, so not really there.